Committing mistakes in Code Vein 2 is almost guaranteed for a lot of beginners since the game offers a lot of features to take in and master. I'm one of the first ones who got the chance to play the game early and managed to reach 100% completion with 100 hours of experience. So here are my top 14 major mistakes that you should be paying attention to. Like spamming your jail attacks without properly understanding how bleed build-up or meter works in Code Vein 2. The bleed meter determines the amount of Ichor points that you will absorb on each drain attack you perform. The higher the bleed meter, the more Ichor points you will absorb. And of course, the lower the meter, the less Ichor you drain from enemies. Normal attacks are the fastest way to increase the bleed build-up meter compared to skills. So spamming skills only and draining your enemies in a constant loop gives you fewer Ichor points in general. The key here is to incorporate 2 to 3 light attacks in your attack rotations. Then when your Ichor points reaches 0, you will get loads of Ichor points from your drain attacks, and sometimes even full gauge. In case you are wondering why you can see the bleed meter, you need to craft the bleed tracker booster and equip the accessory on your character. Speaking of drain attacks, the jail weapon is your main weapon to perform drain attacks, so you can gain Ichor or skill points in combat. One of the mistakes that a player makes is ignoring the bat jail. You can use the bat jail anytime you need Ichor points or your skill points in this game because of its good range. But the salmon bats linger on the target and drain Ichor from enemies at a specific interval. You can get the bat jail by just visiting the confluence or loose time space after progressing through the main events in Magmel Island. Another jail is the IV, and a lot of players are failing to see how good this jail is. The IV has the longest reach or range compared to the other jails, very effective to use when you want to cast a drain attack while the boss is in the middle of a special attack animation or simply located far away from you. Get the IV as a reward by completing the substation main dungeon in Sunken City, which is part of the main story, so you will never miss it. When you are exploring the overworld, you may come across Jadwiga's minions, and please make sure to buy all of the weapons or if not, all of the skills that these minions offer, because you can only get those certain weapons or skills from a specific minion. On top of that, some minions sell tokens, such as exclusive, general, and special tokens. And for the love of Lavinia, buy these tokens as soon as you can, since buying these tokens will unlock weapon upgrade materials in Magmel. So you will never run out of upgrade materials again if you manage to unlock all of these upgrade materials, since you can just buy them in exchange for face, which is very easy to farm if you know where to get them. Speaking of face farming or your main currency in this game, which is comparable to souls in our Souls trilogy, it is easy to jump right into the overworld and find random enemies or spots to start farming face to level up fast or to have the ability to buy weapons or upgrade materials. Farming in the wrong spots can cost you a lot of time and potentially waste it. I am all about efficiency and time management, so I cover the best of the best spots for you from early to end game depending on your progress to save you a lot of time and hassle. All 3 are linked in the description for your convenience. The next mistake that a newbie player make is worrying about blood code traits at the beginning of the game and even through mid-game. You should be worrying about traits optimization in the late game if you have a lot of weapons, accessories, and defensive formate to experiment with. In the early game, you should focus on straightforward upgrades like the raw main stats that a blood code provides, like strength, dexterity, and so on, or the additional traits or passive traits that a partner provides, which I will dive into later on. The next mistake is for brand new players in the genre, since it is unlikely that seasoned Soulsborne or Souls-like players will commit this mistake, and it is using the wrong blood codes for your builds. I mentioned this in the previous step that you should pay attention to the main stat that a certain blood code provides. Like for example, if you are using a build or a weapon that revolves around the willpower stat. Of course, you should be using a blood code that provides willpower as the main stats. For brand new players, let me give you a quick rundown of what each main stat correlates to. Strength stat scales with heavy weapons such as 200 swords and hammers mostly. Dexterity affects one-handed sword mostly and bayonets, while willpower and mind affects magic-based weapons and builds. Vitality affects your HP and fortitude affects your stamina. All of these mistakes are just part of a bigger picture, and there are a lot of essential things that I can't cover in this video. So I suggest checking my top 24 essential tips that will get you up to speed. The video is linked in the description or find it by clicking the card here. In other Souls-like titles, character weight only corresponds to the dodge quality of the player. However, in Code Vein 2, overburden stats not only affect the quality of dodge rolls of the player but also give them benefits and penalty effects. Like for example here, if your strength stat reaches an overburden status, the benefit you can get from this is so ideal, since your close range attacks will be more powerful, while causing more stamina if your attack misses. If you do have a specific setup that led you to become overburdened in strength, you are actually in a better spot, since experienced players barely misses their normal attacks. So the penalty does not matter in this case really, while enjoying the bonus attack power in the process. Another huge mistake that new players make is ignoring partner traits. Whenever picking a partner in your next adventure, the thing that you need to focus on is the partner traits that can also affect your builds drastically. Not only do partners aid you in combat physically, but partners also gain passive traits over time. So choose wisely which partner is really fit to improve your builds. But hey Samurai, I want to choose Holly as my partner for the rest of the game, period. My dear viewer, believe me, I've been there, and Holly already has a shrine in my house. But when it comes to the hardest fights in the game, the traits that partners provide really help. Now moving forward to the next mistake, which is not leveling all of your blood codes. Blood codes receives proficiency when it is equipped on your character after killing enemies. While it is easy to think that you don't really need a dexterity type blood code, since you are playing with a willpower build for example. This is a huge mistake since Lavinia in Magmel, where Lavinia will reward you with a new booster in every blood code you master. Boosters are one of the key factors of character building, so you need as many boosters you can get. In connection to the last step, boosters are your accessories in this game that can give you raw stats or even broken passives to experiment with. That is why I mentioned that you need to have as many boosters you can, and Lavinia's quests are pretty much one of the main sources of these. But Magmel's crafting shop offers boosters that you can use in exchange for monster materials. So whatever happens, keep your monster materials and don't sell them. There are a lot of useful boosters in the crafting shop, so take the time to check each of them. If you are wondering where you can farm the materials to craft a certain blood code, each booster will tell you directly which monster drops the material, but of course, you need to find them in the overworld. For the sake of spoilers, I will be vague in my next tip. The next thing that new players keep messing up is not continuing the main quest in other timelines. I keep getting questions about where I get this and that, and when I answer them that I got it from a hero's quest in a different era, they are pretty much surprised that the main quest can be continued in another timeline. My biggest tip for you is to always check other timelines to not miss any main quest continuation or side quests. Always remember that if you slayed a hero in your present timeline, 100% there's a way for you to visit the past and dig deep into these quests. And for the love of Holly, never spend your breath items or rune leaves during early to mid game since they are so rare even in the late game. Breath items give your weapon stat bonuses. Like for example here, the Breath of Master can improve a weapon's strength and dexterity stats. So my Curse Masamune is perfect for it since it has strength and dexterity scaling. Since this katana is my main weapon, it will be wise for me to use this limited item. Only use breath items if you know what you are doing, or you are already 100% sure of using a certain weapon for a long time, and you will be thanking me later. Another huge mistake that players make is ignoring the tainted weapons, especially in early to mid game. And yes, these weapons have terrible stat scale ratings. You will not want these weapons because of their ratings, but the innate or basic skills they have. The Tainted Sword, Bayonet, and Halberd offers the strongest buff in the game, the Sacrificial Edge. This buff sucks your HP per second in exchange for giving you an immense damage boost. If you manage to adjust to the game's combat, you will find this buff very helpful in bursting down enemies, even bosses. You can get tainted weapons pretty much anywhere, but as early as Magmel Island, there are a lot of soldiers that drop these weapons, so keep on the lookout. Since we are talking about the Sacrificial Edge buff, you might want to check out the next step. This game offers a lot of buffs to play with, ranging from straight attack damage boosts to unique buffs that increases your stats directly, or even damage boosting buffs that you can combine with damage boosting buffs from boosters and blood code traits. And yes indeed, Buff stacking is a thing in this game if you want to deal the most serious damage possible, especially if you can equip 2 weapons at a time in the late game. Like for example here, my second weapon has overdrive and sacrificial edge buffs. Then my katana or my main weapon will cast Blow of Madness and Flashing Fang, which will allow me to deal the most serious damage possible on my next hit, allowing me to deal tons of damage on the next normal attack or skill cast, which is very helpful when bursting down bosses. These are just one of many examples in the game, as there are a lot of things to play with. So take the time to experiment and learning what each skill does or what a buff can do. But what if you want to know the best tips to have the perfect start? This video will teach you 24 essential tips to dominate the game, so click on it and I will catch you on the next one.